Please subscribe and share this video with your friends. Hey!
Hi.
So, this is really fun. We're doing a session in person.
I know.
A mini one. Okay, so we're kind of getting close to the 1 month. And what I love is that you and Derek have also been working together with a therapist.
Right.
So that he's got some buy-in to this whole process.
Right.
So, you had a kind of big session.
We did.
So what happened?
So I basically said at the beginning of the session that I wanted to kind of acknowledge that we've made some big strides and that like there's a lot more open space for communication. And he was like, okay. Like he didn't have a lot of enthusiasm about it. So the therapist was like, okay, so tell me about it. So I said, well, you know, we've been interacting more genuinely because I'm not as naggy and he's not as stonewalling, and so it's been really nice. And he couldn't really acknowledge it so much. So what she said there's like, it's like a lack of a negative behavior isn't as easy to notice as the addition of a positive. So for him, the experience is sort of like, now the rock is out of his shoe, he's just sort of walking around, but he's not remembering like that he just walked 5 miles with a rock in his shoe.
Mm.
So for me, it's not as like acclaiming as I wish. I'm not getting the like, good work, girl! You're sure making strides. I'm not getting any of that. Or I'm not getting as much as I want of that.
Which goes back to this thing that we talked about, you know, I mean, it seems like 5 days ago, but it could have been a week ago, about wanting his validation that your change is enough.
Right.
So what happened?
So, well, basically she said notice that she said it's okay for me to ask. I told her that I was like, you want to marry me now? You want to marry me?
Right.
And she seriously went like this. And I was like, I know, right? As it was happening, I thought that, don't do it. It's like a train wreck. So she laughed and she said, it's okay to ask for him to notice. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say, have you noticed that I've really been doing this and it's really been making a difference? Because then he can actually notice it.
Right.
And that's fine for him. It's good for him to notice that. But then we kind of also got to talking about other stuff, a lot of which was his commitment. So she was like, how's your commitment level? She kind of asked the questions for me. Asking about his commitment level. And she said that, you know, that I should I should be glad that he acts like a very committed guy. He acts like a family guy. Like he does all the actions that most men don't live up to.
Right.
But he says that he's not committed. But what he does is extra committed. So that I should just be cool in that through this process.
Okay.
So that was good. And then she said that...
Wait, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
So are you, like, cool with that? Or did she...
Yeah, and I do notice that. I mean, I noticed that.
Okay.
He does. He shows up. He shows up for the girls. He shows up for me.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So that part was good. And I felt like, okay, cool. I'm already there. But what else did she say? She was saying that, like, the bombardment of like having to make self-sacrifice in being a father coincided with him having to make self-sacrifice to be in this relationship, and that he may not be totally resolved about those things. Like it's a mourning process no matter how you cut it, but then to add them together it's like a double whammy. So she was wondering if like how that's affecting his commitment level, and she actually asked me to leave the room so she could talk to him alone.
And how was that for Carolyn?
You know what? I went into her lobby and I sang out loud to her, like, she has the, like, waiting room music.
Uh-huh.
I sang out loud so I couldn't hear even the slightest anything.
Because you were really uncomfortable?
Scared? I wasn't. I was like I was shockingly not uncomfortable. I was just like, I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want any questions to come up. I just wanted to be cool with it being, like, his thing to talk to her about. It was harder on the ride home to not ask.
You didn't ask?
I just said, was it helpful for you that I went out? And he said, yep.
Well, here's the big point. So this is really important, is that you are in Ignite Your Life.
Right.
You are getting, like...
I'm getting the, could you please leave the room?
Right. I mean, you're, like, totally getting a lot of attention. And he's seeing somebody every other week. And is he still seeing somebody? No.
No.
So he is on his own.
Yeah.
So, and when he's in therapy, it's with you.
Right.
So, did it come up about him being, what's the plan to get him clear on his commitment stuff?
No. I think she's trying to really let it happen organically because when I asked her, I called her once and said, like, is it reasonable for me to expect, like, in 90 days,
Yeah,
can I put
yeah,
that
yeah.
on my list
Yeah.
of things? And she was like, no, he's not on the 90-day plan, and really, as kind of tentative as your situation is, your starting point, it's unreasonable.
Right.
Like, it's reasonable that as things unfold, he would more, like, organically get to be to the place of, like, yeah, I want to get married. But she was like, unless you guys are both in boot camp.
Right, and he's not.
Yeah, but I have to say, I mean, my changes are definitely sparking stuff for him, good and bad. I mean, like, bad being that uncomfortable stuff for him to work out.
Right, well, remember when we did our intensive and we talked about how you had this dysfunctional match?
Yeah.
And when you pull it out, he's like there's no one to fight with, so to speak.
Right.
So it leaves him in his discomfort.
Right.
So, okay.
But he's a very good, like, self-reflecting guy, because I think that for that being, like, the framework that we're dealing with, some people could, like, self-destruct and just be like, I don't know what the hell to do with my stuff. But he's really self-reflective, and so it actually triggers process for him.
Right, because he's seeing it as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why you fell in love with him in the first place, because he's got all that possibility.
Pretty much.
Possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Possibly.